Good morning once again. We want to start this session again. Okay. Before we start the session, I want to make a correction. Yesterday, in my talk, I mentioned that after the first sermon, only Venerable Kondanya attained the stream entry. Bhante Dhammagaru corrected me. He said it is in Mahavagga. He showed me the book this morning. I have read that book many times and I have written my remarks as well. But I don't remember now. I must thank him for pointing that out to correct that mistake. After Venerable Kondanya attained the stream entry, Buddha continued discussing Dhamma, encouraging monks, and then while Mahanama and Asaji and Kondanya went out to collect food, Buddha continued his instruction to Magandhiya and Vappa and instructed them, advised them, encouraged them in the practice of Dhamma. Then they too attained stream entry. The next day, Magandhiya, Vappa, Kondanya went on arms round, and Mahanama and Asaji stayed behind. And Buddha continued his instructions, and then they too attained the stream entry. After that, now all the 5 ascetics, Kondanya, Magandhiya, Vappa, Mahanama, Asaji, all of them attained the stream entry after the first sermon. And then Buddha delivered Anattalakkana Sutta for them to attain Arahanthood. I think you correct that in your memory or in your notes, and further look at Mahavagga Pali, page 24 to 25, 26 and so forth. You will see these details. I just want to remind you. With this note, let us begin today's Dhamma talk. Today Dhamma talk is Magandhiya Sutta. Sutta number 75 in Majjhima Nikaya. This discourse started as thus have I heard. You can see the rest. There is a little other mistake in the translation in Sinhalese, not in English. Then, when it was morning, the Blessed One dressed and taking his bowl and outer robes, went into Kamma Dhamma 4 arms. Now, Mahasatipatthana Sutta also delivered in Kammasa Dhamma. This is another, several discourses Buddha delivered in Kammasa Dhamma. This is another one. I want to mention this because I have read somewhere, somebody said the only discourse Buddha delivered in Kammasa Dhamma was Mahasatipatthana. That is another mistake somebody has committed, just like I did. So we all commit mistakes. When he had wandered 4 arms in Kammasa Dhamma and had returned from his alms round after his meal, he went to a certain grove for the day's abiding. Now, the Sinhalese translation, I think since you are using Sinhalese, most of you, says, Pindaya pavija kammas dhamma pindaya charitva pacchabattam pindapata patikkanto yenanyatarang vanasando tenupasankami diva viharaya. This has been translated into Sinhalese. Ekali bhagutun vanse perabat vele handa perava පාසිවුරු ගෙන කර්මාස ධම්මයට පිඩු වැඩියහ. කර්මාස ධම්මේ පිඩු සිංහා පසුබත් වේලෙහි පිඩුවායෙන් නැවතිසේක් එක්තරා වනල හැබක් කරා දිවාවහාර පිණිස එළඹියහ. පසුබත් වේලෙහි පිඩුවායෙන් නැවතිසේක්. I don't understand that Sinhalese. It seems that after preventing from going on alms round in the afternoon, can somebody tell me the meaning other than that? I think that is the meaning in Sinhalese. That is the mistake. Pindapata patikkanto, the word patikkanta is not used for.
Pindapaten velakune keltuna. Pindapaten velakune.
Oh, velakune. Pindapaten velakune. For velakema in Pali, we would say patikkhittva or patikkhepettva, not patikkanta. Patikkanta means returning. You say in Sampajanya Bhabha in Mahasatipatthana, abhikkante patikkante sampajanakari hoti. Patikkanta means returning. So after going on Pindapata and returning from Pindapata, that's what it means. Not is a Pachabhatta means after returning, after meals, he returned after meal, not after afternoon Pindapata, which is odd. We never heard Buddha went on afternoon Pindapata. Anyway, he returned to in certain forest thereby, and then sat down at the root of a tree for a day's abiding. That means the Buddha and some arahants and other venerable monks, after meals, would go either to a to under a tree or summit tree, open air, and where there is a straw, bundle of straw, and so forth, to spend the day. That means that is the time they sit down and meditate again. Spending the day doesn't mean that they go out and sleep, but they would go, and that is the time they would like to meditate. So Buddha was there meditating, sitting. Then the wanderer Magandhiya, while walking and wandering for exercise, a chamber of Brahmin belonging to a Bharadwaja clan. There he saw a spread grass prepared and asked the Brahmin, "For whom has this spread of grass been prepared in Bharadwaja's fire chamber?" Now, this is the seat that had already been prepared for the Buddha. And then he said, "It seems like it might be a recluse's bed." So then Magandhiya, there is the recluse called Gautama, the son of Sakyas, who went forth from a Sakyan clan. Now a good reputation of Master Gautama has been spread to this effect. Then he said this very famous passage that we recite very often. Magandhiya reported to this, Bharadwaja reported to Magandhiya, this seat is arranged for Gautama, who is from Sakyan clan, and his reputation is for this. Then he recited the passage, mentioned the passage, as we all know. The Blessed One is accomplished, fully enlightened, perfect in true knowledge and conduct, sublime, know the words, incomparable leader of persons to be tamed. This sentence, this part is very important. Incomparable leader of a person to be tamed. That is, the Buddha is incomparable teacher, a teacher of person to be tameable. He taught that he tamed the tameable. Buddha did not try to tame untamable. He always trained the tameable, somebody who can be trained. Buddha did not make any effort to make somebody teach the Dhamma to somebody who cannot be tamed. Like Chundasukara, he knew he could not teach him. Although he was just behind the monastery, killing pigs for 45 years, Buddha did not try to stop him. Buddha could not teach Devadatta. Although he advised him, he did not try to teach Devadatta several times. Buddha advised Devadatta not to do certain things, but he did not go out of his way to teach, to change his ways. But Buddha always went for somebody to tame. That person is tameable. Even like Angulimala, he was tameable. He was serial killer, and yet Buddha knew he has a spark of wisdom. So out of compassion, he went and taught him. So this part is very important for us to remember as one of the wonderful qualities of the Buddha. Anyway, the Buddha is enlightened and blessed. So he said to Magandhiya, this bed is made for him. And Magandhiya was very upset. Indeed, Master Bharadwaja, it is an ill sight we see when we see the bed of that destroyer of growth. The Pali word for destroyer growth is called Bhunahu. Bhunahu samano gotamoti. He destroys life. Bhunahu, destroy of growth. Master Gautama. Then be careful what you say, Magandiya. Be careful what you say. Many learned nobles, learned Brahmins, learned householders, and learned recluses have full confidence in Master Gautama and have been disciplined by him in the noble true way, in the Dhamma that is wholesome. Master Bharadwaja, even if we saw that Master Gautama face to face, we would tell him to this face. The recluse Gautama is destroyer of growth. When Bharadwaja warned Magandiya, watch your mouth, watch your tongue. Don't say that. Bhavat Gautama is so respected by all people belonging to four castes, Kshatriya, Brahmana, Shudra, Vaishya. So the Magandhiya said, I don't care. I tell this to his face. I don't care. Okay. I don't care. I tell him that you are destroyer of life. So, the recluse Gautama destroy life. Why is that? Because that has come down in our discourse. Magandhiya was following his ancient traditional Vedic Upanishadic system. If Master Magandhiya has no objection, may I tell this to Master Gautama, let Master Bharadwaja be at ease. So when Bharadwaja told Magandhiya, I will tell Bhante. Tell him just what I have said. I don't care. Go, tell him. Then, while this conversation was going on, Buddha, with his divine eye, heard this conversation. And then, little later, Buddha appeared and the Magandhiya appeared, Then Magandiya said the same to the Buddha. When Buddha returned, and Buddha asked Bharadwaja, was there any conversation between you and Magandiya over this straw bed, the seat? And he was awestruck. Bharadwaja was shocked because Bharadwaja did not know that Buddha overheard this conversation with his supernormal ears. And that's why Bharadwaja was shocked. Anyway, when Buddha finished, he said, we wanted to tell Master Gautama about that very thing, but Master Gautama has anticipated us. And then the discussion between the Blessed One and the Brahmin of the Bharadwaja caste was left unfinished. At that time, this Magandhiya appeared and then carry on the conversation. Then Buddha said to him, after exchanging greetings and so forth, he said that, then Buddha said to him, Blessed One said to him, Magandhiya, this is the Buddha's wonderful teaching. The eye delights in forms, take delights in forms, rejoices in forms, that has been tamed by the Tathagata, guarded, protected, and restrained, and he teaches the Dhamma for its restraining. Was it with reference to this that you said the recluse Gautama is destroyer of growth? I teach, I myself have trained to restrain all the senses, all the six senses. And I teach others also train, discipline, restrain their senses. Is it with reference to this that you say that I am a destroyer of life, destroyer of growth? Magandhiya said, yes. He said, it was with reference to this, Master Gautama, that I said that recluse Gautama destroys our life. Why is that? Because it is in our literature. No any other reason. Our literature says, if somebody do this, he destroys life. How? Because when we restrain, discipline our senses, then we don't go out and commit all kinds of sensual misbehavior, sensual misconduct. Or ones who have restrained their senses abstain from going out and having sensual pleasures because they bring endless suffering. So Buddha taught us that when one tries to enjoy sensual pleasures, that entails suffering because sensual pleasure is insatiable. Insatiable. Insatiability of sensual pleasure is called suffering. Insatiability of sensual pleasure is called suffering because that has no end. We all know that. That is why Buddha said, न kahapanavassena titti kamesu vijjati appasadaduka kama iti vinyaya pandito api dibresu kamesu ratinso nadi gacchati. Tannaka rato dero samma sambuddha. One would not be satisfied, one's would not be able to satisfy one's senses. In this stanza, in Dhammapada, Buddha said, I put it in very simple way with an example. Suppose you have a house, very big house. One morning when you wake up, you will find entire house is filled with gold. Because that night, Kahapanavasa, there was some leak in the roof and there was heavy rain at night. That night, that rain was not water. That rain was gold. So gold is rain that entire night to fill your house from to the fill the house to the brim, so to say. Every nook and corner in the house is full of gold. House is very large, bigger than this meditation building, or this building, that building, all building. Big building, yeah, full of gold. You get up in the morning and seeing all this gold, you know this gold is not enough. I mean, you cannot finish this gold in your life. Entire village cannot finish this gold. Perhaps entire district cannot finish all this gold. So much gold is there. When you get up in the morning, you would say, gee, I wish I had a bigger house. To have more gold. You never say, boy, how can I use all this gold? Never say that. Buddha said, therefore, this greed, desire is insatiable, can never be satisfied. That is why Buddha wanted to restrain our senses so that we can, when we discipline our senses, we can have some rest. So, for this reason, Buddha was doing that. Then Buddha gave a very beautiful simile. I think the rest of the things you can read. I want to emphasize this thing. Buddha said, I enjoy sensual pleasures to the maximum. I had 3 palaces, I had servants, I have in my palaces, all these 3 palaces, I did not have one single male. Everyone was very, very young, attractive girls. Even the doorkeepers were girls. Or those who served me were girls. Everywhere, like, flies, everywhere these beautiful girls are moving around. I was with them. But on later occasion, having understood as they actually are, the origin, disappearance, the gratification, the danger, and the escape in the case of sensual pleasures, I abandoned craving for sensual pleasures. I removed fever for sensual pleasures. I abide without thirst, with the mind inwardly at peace. So, finally, I felt so tired. Of course, if you have so many girls around you all the time, I mean, day and night, can you have any 1 second of peace? Just imagine. There are 2 girls there, but don't get upset. If you have a house full of girls, not all women, young girls, beautiful, attractive, very sweet voice, this and that. But day and night you hear their sound, their voice, their sight, their smell, their touch. You get tired. So Buddha said, I felt enough. Enough is enough. I don't want anymore. And then he says, having given up all this, I see other beings who are not free from lust for sensual pleasures, being devoured by craving for sensual pleasures, burning with fever for sensual pleasures, indulging in sensual pleasures, and I do not envy them, nor do I delight in them. So I see, I'm separate, I'm free from them. And then I see somebody else is in the same predicament. I'm not envy of them, because I know they also will have the same punishment. Same punishment. I tell you my experience. I went to a retreat with a friend, with my very, very good friend as my assistant. After the retreat, we had to come to Albuquerque airport, 4 hours drive. A young woman volunteered to drive us. I was sitting in the front seat. My friend was sitting at the back seat. And this woman started talking. I had my ear ache. For half an hour she talks without stop. Half an hour. Then she stopped at certain place to get something. Then I told my friend, who was sitting at the back, I'm very sleepy. Can I sleep? Go to the back seat, you come to the front seat. And he agreed. He was sitting at the front, on the front seat. Then another 3.5 hours we drove, and this girl talked the remaining 3.5 hours non-stop. When we got down at the airport, my friend turned to me and said, Bhante, I never forgive you for this punishment. You see? So, Buddha, Siddhartha might have had that punishment for his entire time he spent with these girls. So when he abstained from that, restrained himself, abandoned all these things, he saw somebody else is going through that punishment. Buddha said, I'm not envy. I'm not jealous of that person. He did not say that. He would rather say, I pity that person for going through that punishment. So I put it as actually very practical thing. No matter how sweet somebody is, when it happens again and again all the time for years, you certainly get tired. Because that is the nature of sensual pleasure. You always look for something different. Why is that? Because there is Magandhiya, a delight apart from sensual pleasures, apart from unwholesome state, which surpasses even divine bliss. Even divine bliss surpasses. Since I take delight in that, I do not envy what is what is inferior, nor do I delight therein. So compared to this peace, this comfort, this happiness, that is a nuisance. I'm in for that. And Buddha gave this very beautiful simile. That simile, this, after explaining all these things, he gave a very beautiful simile. Simile of okay, simile is, suppose Magandiya household son, rich with great wealth and property, and being provided and endowed with the 5 courses of sensual pleasures, he might enjoy himself with forms cognizable by eyes and so forth. Having conducted himself well in body, speech, and mind, on the dissolution of the body, after that, he might reappear in happy destination in the heavenly world, in the retinue of the gods and the 33, god of 33. And they are surrounded by a group of nymphs in the Nandana grove. He would enjoy himself provided and endowed with the 5 courses of sensual pleasures. Suppose he saw a household that now he is born in heaven and enjoy heavenly bliss. And then he look down on earth and see human being enjoy sensual pleasure. Buddha asked Magandhiya, do you think that divine being in heaven be jealous or envious of human beings? Magandhiya said, no. Why is that? He enjoys better pleasure. And Buddha goes on like that. And then he gave a very beautiful, very stark simile. That is, Magandhiya, there was a leper with sore and blisters on his limbs, being devoured by worms, scratching the scabs of the opening of his wounds with his nails, then cauterizing his body over burning charcoal pit. Just imagine a leper who has so much pain, scratching, very unbearable. And he's cauterizing his body over, that is putting his body over fire to make it hot, warm, so that his ache and pain or scratching would fade away. Then his friend and companions, his kinsmen and relatives would bring a physician to treat him. The physician would make medicine for him, and by means of that medicine, the man would be cured of his leprosy and would become well and happy, independent, master of himself, able to go where he likes. Then he might see another leper with sore and blisters on his limbs, being devoured by worms, scratching the scabs, scratching scabs off, the opening of his wound with his nails, cauterizing his body of burning charcoal pit. What do you think, Magandhiya? Would that man envy that leper for his burning charcoal and so forth? This very, very good example to remember. This man had already suffered from this leprosy. He was doing all sorts of things to get rid of his pain. And somebody brings a physician, and physician make good medicine and prescribe good medicine. He uses medicine and get cured. After getting cured, he sees another leper suffering exactly as he did in the past. The one who is cured from leprosy, would he be jealous? Would he envy the other person who is suffering from that? No. There is, now he doesn't need any medicine anymore because he is already cured. Suppose somebody is suffering from leprosy and got cured, and after that he would then some people come and try to drag him to the charcoal pit just like before. He would say, no, I don't want to go there. Why? Because the fire burns. So Buddha, does the fire burn now? Did it burn before? Yes, even before fire was burning. Then, when you were in leprosy, did the fire burn that time? Yes. And still you put your hands and legs over that and kept on cauterizing. Why don't you do that now? That time fire was burning, even now is fire burning. That time when fire was burning, you put your hands over there. Now you don't want. So he said, because now I am cured. I don't need that. I am cured. Similarly, when somebody is obsessed with sensual pleasures, that person goes after enjoying, trying to have sensual pleasures again and again. Once desire for sensual pleasure is gone, you don't need it anymore. You are not envious of somebody who is suffering. Then Buddha gave another simile. The rest is very easy. I try to make it shorter. Okay. what do you, let us go to number 18. What do you think, Magandhiya? Have you ever seen or heard of a king or a king's minister enjoying himself, provided and endowed with 5 courses of sensual pleasures, who, without abandoning craving for sensual pleasures, without removing fever for sensual pleasures, was able to abide free from thirst, with mind endowed with inwardly at peace, or who is able or who will be able to do so? No, Master Gautama. No matter how powerful you are, king or king's minister, without giving up sensual pleasures or desire for sensual pleasures, experience peace. Have you heard of such a person? He said, no, I have not heard. Then Buddha says, good Master Magandiya, I too have never seen or heard of a king or king's minister enjoying himself provided and endowed with 5 courses of sensual pleasures, who, without abandoning craving for sensual pleasures, without removing fever for sensual pleasures, was able to abide free from thirst, with mind inwardly at peace. So, as long as sensual pleasures is there, I can never find inward peace. No matter how powerful you are, how rich you are, how strong you are, that power, that wealth, that strength cannot bring inner peace without giving desire for sensual pleasures. So Magandhiya accepted that. Then the Blessed One said this. This is very important. This is the center of the discussion. The greatest of all gain is health. Nibbana is the greatest bliss. Eightfold path is the best of paths, for it leads safely to the deathless. Arogya Paramalabha, Santutti Paramandhanam. The other part is Vissasa Paramachanacha Nibbanam Paramasukam we find in Dhammapada. But here, Nibbana is the Nibbanam Paramasukam. Attiga Magganam Kemang. That instance I say in the book. Let me read that. Arogya Paramalabha Nibbanam Paramasukam Attangikocha Magganam Kemang Amatagamini. So, Arogya Paramalabha. When Buddha said this, Magandhiya said, that is wonderful. Evam utte Magandhiya paribhajo Bhagavanta Accharyam bhogotama abhutam gotama yava subhashitamidam bhogotama. This is wonderful, this is marvelous, this is well said. What is that? Arogya Paramalabha. Nibbanam Paramasukam. We also have this in our literature, he said. But Magandhiya did not understand the full meaning of Arogya Paramalabha. Nibbanam Paramasukam. The highest gain is health. it is not highest, the physical health is not the highest game, because it is subject to change. Today we are healthy, and that is not a guarantee that we live healthy life for the rest of our life. We are not healthy. Our health is, no matter how much health insurance we have, life insurance we have, we cannot have permanent health. That's what Buddha said to Nakulapita. And in many places, if not, there are 6 diseases that we have which can never be cured permanently. Never cured. Temporarily we can cure them, but permanently they can never cure them. What are the 6 diseases? 6 sicknesses that we can never cure permanently? If I mention one, you will say, oh yes, then you will remember. Number 1, cold. When we are cold, we can put on clothes, warm clothes for a while, but as soon as we go out, we feel cold. As soon as we remove this warm clothes, we feel cold again. That is not a permanent cure. That's a temporary patch up, band-aid. Then heat. When it is hot, we turn on AC and go to cool rooms and so forth. That is a temporary measure, temporary cure, not permanent. Then hunger, sickness, jigacha parama roga. Among sicknesses, the greatest sickness is hunger. So we eat and we quench our hunger, satisfy our hunger. Then again we have to eat. We ate this morning and again we have to eat at lunchtime. Some people even eat at night. That sickness never stops. It keeps coming back again and again. Then pipasa, thirst. We drink now and again we feel thirsty, again we drink to quench it. Then uchara, urinating. We have to urinate once. Is that all? No, we have to urinate again and again and again. And defecation, uchara pasa. These 6 sicknesses can never be permanently cured. Sitang, unnang, jigacha, pipasa, uchara pasa. You can see in Girimananda Sutta. Now, therefore, greatest of all gains is health, doesn't mean physical health. That means the health that we gain by overcoming the root of all sickness. What is the root of all sickness? Is greed, hatred, and delusion. When we overcome them, then we have permanent health. Paramount, parama, what do you call, labha. Parama means paramount gain, parama labha. Among happiness, Nibbana, Paraman Sukham, it is indisputable. It is indisputable, no question, no argument. Then Eightfold Path is the best of paths. Attangikocha magganam kemang amatagaminam, for leading safely to the deathless. You see, Noble Eightfold Path is the path the best path among all paths. Anyang Nibbana Gaminang, what? Anyang Sugatagami. Sugatagami one road, Nibbanagami is another road. So this man, Magandhiya, has not understood the deep meaning of this stanza. And therefore he quote that this is excellent, but we also have this in our teaching. That is Arogya Paramalabha Nibbanam Paramasukhanti. Their Nibbana is not our Nibbana. Their Nibbana is going to heaven, Brahma world. So Buddha corrected him and he continued his sermon. Okay. He did not understand it. Buddha gave very beautiful simile to make how poor his understanding was, how blind he was to understand the truth. That is the a man born blind, stark blind, or stone blind, born blind. And he hears people talking about beautiful, clean, neat clothes. And somebody gives him very dirty, grease, smeared, dirty, ugly clothes and say, Mister, this is very, very beautiful, clean clothes. And this blind man put this clothes on and goes around showing people, look at my beautiful, clean clothes, look at it. He is very proud of wearing this dirty clothes. And then one day, somebody, out of compassion, bring a physician and prescribe certain medicine. The physician prescribes certain medicine to apply on his blind eyes. By miracle, he get cured. Once he cured, then he looks at his clothes, it's so ugly, so dirty, smeared with blood, dirt and grease and oily and smell. Then what would he think? He would think, I must kill this man. He cheated me. Similarly, Magandhiya, you don't see the deep meaning of this stanza. Once you saw the deep meaning, you will not like what you have read in your literature, what your teachers taught you, because they have not taught you the truth. But once you open your eyes, remove the veil of ignorance from your eyes, from your mind, you will see the truth. So the Magandhiya, after that, then Buddha explained to him the nature of this body, and then after listening to it, Magandhiya became very convinced and said, and because Buddha had taught him gradual teaching, and Buddha said, then open your eyes, you will see yourself. And he was convinced. became follower of the Buddha and requested the Buddha to ordain him. Buddha said, Magandiya, if somebody from another tradition comes to me, asking me to accept him, give him ordination, I would put him on 4 months probation. 4 months probation. Magandiya said, Venerable Sir, if that was the case, I don't mind going through 4 years probation. The Buddha said, however, Magandhiya, I make some exceptions to certain individuals. I made an exception to you, and I ordained you, Buddha ordained him, and soon Magandhiya practiced Buddha's instruction. Now his eyes open, and he saw the truth, practiced Dhamma. Soon he became Arahant. And Sake Bhante Anjititya Bubba Imasim Dhammane Akankanta Pabbajang Akankanta Purano Chattaro Mase Parivasanti Chaturna Masanang Achena Arad Chittang Bhikkhu Pabbajanti Upasampadade. After 4 months, 4 years, if any monk pleases, would ordain me. So Buddha ordained him, he became an Arahant. Magandiya Eko Upagattang Appamatto Atapi Paitato Viharanto Naturasya Yasattha Kulaputto Sammata Sammadeva Agarasma Anagaryam Pabhajati Tadanutturam Brahmacharya Parivasanam Nitteva Dhamme Swayam Sattikatta Pradani. And soon he became an Arahant and became one of the Arahants, disciples of the Buddha. So he came as a unbeliever without trusting the Buddha, accusing Buddha as one who destroys lives, but eventually, because of the Buddha's utmost compassion, wisdom, skill in teaching, he knew this man is tameable. So Buddha decided to tame him, and finally he saw the result right then and there. So friends, this is the end of the, I just jumped here and there because so many things to say. This is the end of the discourse. I urge you to read this again and learn detailed account of this discourse. Beautiful discourse. Thank you for your listening.
Yes.